As a door-to-door sales rep, I can tell you the future for you, and it was for me, is sales compliance. Sales compliance is literally going to get you referral-based business, and I can attest to that personally. It's one of the most beautiful things you can do.
This is the Solar Disruption Theory.
This is the Solar Disruption Theory podcast. Welcome. My name is Chad Towner. I'm the host, and today we've got with us a very special guest. He is the founder of SolarCon, also the founder of the Morning Energy Show, and just overall visionary for solar and just all around good guy, Jake Hess.
Thank you, Chad.
How you doing?
Pretty good. Happy to be here with you.
Welcome.
I feel like I've made it in the podcast world.
It's been a long time coming. I'm happy to have you here. Thank you for taking the time. And you kind of have your hands in a lot of things in the solar industry. Also your ears and your eyes, and you just kind of are kind of anywhere and everywhere at once. And so I wanted to get you in here, talk a little bit about what you're up to, but I also want to get into kind of just your backstory. What got you to this place, right? I met you, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. I came down to San Diego, came to your office. You had like I don't know if you guys are doing your own installs, but I know you were a dealer. It was Helio Gold.
That's right. Good memory.
Yeah. So how did you get to that point, and then what happened after that?
Oh, I was working for one of these big companies, big, bright orange one.
Yep.
And just kept hitting the glass ceiling, kept recruiting, and never got promoted to the level that I wanted. I swore that I would not let that happen to anyone else that trusted me, because I had a lot of recruits with me. And decided to build my own company and did pretty good at that. I had an awesome team, but had someone actually reach out and buy that during COVID. They bought that company, and it's up and running and successful.
Great.
I believe they're getting acquired by Solar Tech right now.
Cool.
And after running that, I noticed a big, kind of issue. I noticed that there was a lack of education in the industry. Just even in my own little town of San Diego, I just really wished and advocated that salespeople could have a higher level of knowledge, because I genuinely believe that they can sell better. I think they'll get referral-based business. I think their homeowners will be happier. They'll be happier. They'll be more successful. They could live a life where they could not just go out and knock doors every single day and grind, where they could actually build a sustainable life that they wanted, the whole reason they're working.
Yeah.
And so I decided to start the Solar Academy, and got thousands of people trained in that to the best of my ability. Thanks to my team, we got to reach thousands of people and make an impact that way. I actually built SolarCon as a marketing funnel to get people to buy the Solar Academy.
The Solar Academy was that was the revenue producer, and you were just trying to drive traffic from SolarCon.
How do I get new audiences, new vision on this? Because no one's looking at a Solar Academy and be like, my God, I've got to have that, right? They just weren't doing it. So I was like, all right, well, I'll build SolarCon, and I'll use that as a funnel to sell, because every conference does that. They have a program they sell.
Right.
Problem is, I had never run a conference before, and that ended up being an entire beast of itself, and I couldn't run the Solar Academy anymore. So I handed that off to a buddy, because I just kept wanting to build larger and larger impact. It became about impact after we started SolarCon, and that was my motivating factor. Yeah.
All right, so you seem to have this trend where you start something up and then either sell it off or pass it off, and it's like, let my buddy kind of handle this, and I'm going to put my energy into that. So you got into SolarCon to drive traffic to the Solar Academy. Is the Solar Academy, you said you have your buddy running it now. Are you still driving traffic from SolarCon? But SolarCon's kind of become its own thing in and of itself now. Yeah,
we're not driving traffic to it. It has become its own thing, SolarCon has. And it's funny. Yeah, you're right. I have jumped. But it's because I was a door knocker for so long. But I loved doing it. I just always had these top people up there. When I was a little guy, for me, it was like Todd Peterson, John Frampton, Mark Bench, Jason Brown. Like, there was these names, Tyler Williams, Jordan Williams. There was these names where I was just like, my goodness, if I could ever reach that level, right? And so when the opportunities have been coming through Helio Gold to the Solar Academy to SolarCon, it's just greater and greater opportunities. And I realize where a lot of the value for me is just the impact that it has on the industry. I feel like I've made a pretty strong impact.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep dropping the other things, because I just get the next thing that can help more people.
Yeah. No, and that's a unique position to be in. I think everybody in the solar industry, myself included, we're all kind of out there to try and create something that, at some point or in one way or another benefits ourselves. And, when your motive is to have an impact and to level up the industry, I think you can do some pretty cool things. So with SolarCon in particular, when did that start? And we're just a couple weeks away from another annual SolarCon. This year it's going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada.
That's
so
right.
Make sure you guys come. Everybody who listens to this needs to attend. But when did SolarCon start? What was the first year and what was that like?
We're only going into our fourth year this year. So
Yep.
2021 was the first year. And it was weird. It was so weird to start because all of a sudden, these politics started coming into play. I was just the guy that was like, oh, door-to-door people, like, let's go learn.
Right.
Let's go learn from these people that we revel, or at least that I did. You have Sunrun and you have Solar Edge and Enphase, and let's go actually learn about this product directly from the source. There has never been an area where all of us could unify and come together as one whole group to learn everything that's happening each year. And so, I thought if it's about education and impact and helping these sales reps get more educated to sell better, then what better thing to do than to create a venue where they could all come to and learn collectively, so that nationally we were all singing the same tune.
Yeah.
I had traveled doing business consulting, and on one side of the country, one of the owners hated SunPower. I mean, I don't know how everyone feels about them now, rest in peace, but
Yeah, right.
they hated SunPower. And then in California, they loved them, and they actually didn't like each other as people because they advocated for one brand over the other. And what I found was they were identical. They were good people. They just didn't understand the product, and for some reason thought they had to fight about it. So to heal the industry a bit, I thought it would be good to get them under one roof so they could understand the same thing, and it worked really well. Everyone started meeting each other, and I believe we helped facilitate a massive culture shift in the industry where everyone can somewhat communicate with each other and understand who each other are.
Yeah, I mean, I think because there's RE plus, right? RE plus, renewable energy plus, storage and all that stuff. That has been the renewable energy convention for years and years and years. It's been around for a long time. And while that's a really good, I mean, we go there, we go to RE plus, we participate. Every time I go, it seems like 95% of it is like commercial and industrial. Mm-hmm. And then at least the floor itself, and then manufacturers for like panels. And so it just doesn't apply to like the solar sales rep and the industry and the world that they live in, even though it is presumably a solar convention. And so there never really was a convention that was meant to bring all of the solar sales reps under one roof and, like you said, educate them on finance products or electronic equipment or whatever. And so it was kind of this thing. I remember I was like, man, there's going to be like fights breaking out in the hallways when you get these competitors in the same roof, under the same roof in the same room. But that didn't happen. It was a big success. I think you're right. It has culturally helped kind of shift and help people realize like, hey, we're all kind of experiencing these highs and lows of the solar industry together. Mm-hmm. And, just because I have like a bitter competitor doesn't mean I can't like, shake their hand and say, good luck to you. And like, we're still all experiencing the same challenges, especially now in today's climate.
You're dead on with that one. I get people, I literally watched this last year because last year the industry went through a big shock. I'm going to call it a big shock. And
which one?
I'm just saying, just the culmination of everything that occurred.
Okay.
Yeah, there were several shocks.
Yeah, we had one this week.
You're right. To your point, like there was competitors that historically I knew had beef with each other they were just kind of folding their arms and be like, I'm mad at you, but how are you handling this?
Right.
And begrudgingly they would answer, because it was a great equalizer. Everybody is going through the same strains, same problems. Hasn't necessarily gone away yet either. But having a massive equalizer in the industry, it doesn't matter how big you are, how small you are, everyone is going through the same exact issues. And, it has brought a lot of unity, and we've learned who to trust. We've learned who to follow. But it's kind of cool watching so many people empathize with each other, whether they're going to work together or not. Empathy is a strong thing, I think, that has occurred in the industry since. Which leaves an open room for an adjustment. If people can empathize with the circumstances that everyone is in, I think everyone's trying to find a solution.
Yep.
And once that solution is found and it works, then it's just going to be a repeat process after that.
Yeah, and I think, the empathy is good, but a convention is not a success if everybody just shows up so that they can commiserate and, all share in their problems, right? What I think also comes out of this type of event, when you get everybody in the same room, is they realize they're not alone in this. And a lot of times, like, conversations are had and future partnerships are forged, or at least begun, because they see each other as like, hey, we're competitors, but we're also experiencing the same problem. Mm-hmm. And so maybe if we join forces, or at least align in this one thing, we can go and tackle this problem together on a unified front. And I'm referring to, I've seen, from this, several companies get together and form a solar alliance, right, to help try and drive more compliance in solar. So, there are areas, even if we don't agree on everything, we all agree that we want the solar business, the solar industry to continue. We want customers to save money. We want the finance companies to be happy with their investment when they invest in a solar project. Like, all of these things need to happen in order for everyone to be able to continue to operate within this amazing industry.
Yeah.
And so we have more in common than we have differences. And I know that's like a political statement, but that applies, in my opinion, very much to the solar industry, especially in today's market.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is fun watching people go into the conference for the first time, or, we have so many repeat people, obviously. It is fun watching them go in there and talk to people that they don't normally talk with on a day-to-day basis throughout the year. But it is a good place for people to go in and learn, things that are changing, things to adapt, how they're handling processes, and unifying on that front. It is great.
So this year, obviously you're going into year 4, and you've no doubt learned a lot of things from the past. What are some of the things that people can look forward to at this SolarCon that maybe you haven't done in the past? You mentioned a unique kind of way to do some of these breakout sessions. Mm-hmm. I know you've done breakout sessions in the past. What are some of the unique things about 2025?
I'm excited about this year because I was talking with my team, and we have the off season. We only do this once a year, and we kind of have to guess what is going to be happening, what's going to be relevant 8 months from now, because we have to sign a contract for Las Vegas Hotel, which is not cheap. We have to sign a contract anticipating that we understand and know the market well enough to know what's going to be happening 8 months from now, and bank millions of dollars on that concept. And so I love to stay in touch and in tune with the industry. And what we realized this year was everyone was kind of down in the dumps. Yep. We had sales reps leaving and looking at horizontal integration, like HVAC and turf. And I just sat down with Brett not too long ago, and he is right. Like, the economics on the solar transaction is much higher. It's one of the best places it could be in, right?
Yep.
Solar is still the best. You can make the most money at it and help homeowners differently than you can with meat sales or pest control, right? It's just a very different, what's the word I'm looking for? Economic. It's a very different, you get a whole different set of commission. It does come with a whole different set of responsibilities, right?
Right.
And so we thought, hey, you know what? Like, the industry has been down in the dumps a little bit. We're kind of like a voice in the industry. Why don't we pick the industry up? We'll take it on our backs. We'll pick the industry up and tell everyone, you know what? We've all been abused. We've all been hit. We've all been beat down. What's coming in the future? Welcome to the future. So many businesses have gone under. So many sales reps have left the industry. C-suites have changed. Products that companies are offering have shifted. And so it's almost like after last year, there's this entire new landscape of the solar industry. And what is it? We all learned what it was in 2022 when we were all selling at the top of the charts.
Yep.
But when that decline came, what is the new industry we're operating in? Softwares have changed. So we said, welcome to the future. That's our theme this year, because this is going to be what the future holds for the rest of the next at least 5 years, right?
Yeah.
This is the origin of that. This is the first event that we're going to throw when that big downturn happened. And what I'm seeing this year, and maybe you can speak a little bit to it, one major shift is sales compliance. Sales compliance is a huge one. And sales reps, I know it's not a sexy topic, but dang, if you're in solar where you can make the most money of any other sold product out there, if you're going to be in this market, sales compliance is coming. This is the best place to come and learn how to navigate it and learn from the sales reps that are out there utilizing it right now and installing hundreds of accounts a year, how they're navigating sales compliance. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a positive thing with your homeowners, right? Sales compliance is a big one. Domestic content is coming up. I believe sales reps should understand that to some capacity. Storage is bigger than it ever has been before. And so we have so many leaders in the industry and so many manufacturers that are coming to specifically teach sales reps about the products so that they can be more knowledgeable when they're selling it to homeowners. We have people coming, massive people. I heard Abby Hopper is coming.
Abby just committed, so she will be here. She's been on this podcast. She sat in that chair.
Oh my
we actually
goodness.
popped a bottle of champagne together. It was my
Really?
first bottle I've ever popped. I did not do a very good job of it. But yeah, she's amazing, and she's a huge draw. And congratulations on getting her to commit to come, because I think that will be massive. I mean, she is the face of what you say, like compliance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Solar Energy Industries Association, like SEIA, is what we kind of look to for the policy and the legislation side, the lobbying of solar, of just renewable energies in general. So yeah, she is like the tip of the spear, and to have her come and be able to speak to the sales reps, the ones who are either driving good compliance or bad compliance, I want every one of those sales reps to hear what she has to say. So very, very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, as a sales rep myself, like I had no idea that this organization SEIA existed. I might have seen the logo. A lot of us have. What does it mean? I almost still don't know what it means, even after being in it for so long. But the best way that I can understand it, and maybe you can correct me here, is it's kind of like the government of solar. It's everyone is going to them and wanting to abide by the leadership of SEIA. SEIA sees things and gets funded by the government, right?
They get funded by companies like Freedom Forever and private donors who contribute to them so that they can lobby for ideals and legislation that is good for the solar industry.
Okay, they lobby with the government.
Yes, so they are the ones who actually go and say, hey, government, we would like the Inflation Reduction Act to be put in place. And they wouldn't take credit for the whole thing, and nobody can, because that the way that happened, it was all kind of like overnight behind closed doors. But this is something that they had been lobbying for and kind of asking for years. It took a long time, and eventually they took all of that information, some of it from SEIA, some of it from other sources, and created this bill, right? And so like
I'm learning with you here today.
I'm by no means am I an expert, but we have a board seat with SEIA. We are very, very close with them. And yes, they are here to advocate for us and to help make sure that solar has a place in the United States, and to make sure that, solar does not get outlawed, but rather it gets embraced from a political standpoint, which trickles down to the independently operated utilities and all the different
I'm sorry,
dynamics.
but if you are a sales rep and you are not excited to go and hear that person talk,
Yeah.
like you're looking at solar sales in the wrong way. Yeah, this is a vehicle to help your homeowners and have a successful life. This is good for the country. And this Abby person, she is like at the top of the world in solar that helps advocate for the very policies that we have to abide by in solar.
Yes.
Like this is fantastic for sales reps to hear. I might be a little biased on this. I nerd out on that stuff. I think it's amazing.
No, it's exciting. And so the hope is that we can level up the industry, and freedom has now kind of come around to this idea, right? I mean, I'll admit, I was that guy 2-3 years ago, and I'm like, I don't know, man, you've got so-and-so supporting, they're a sponsor of SolarCon. I don't know if Freedom's going to participate, but the reality is you're trying to do a good thing for the industry, trying to create an environment where sales can come together and learn from one another. And we want to lean into that. We want to lean into that. We always, at one point, I mean, we like to do everything ourselves, right? And so we're like, build our own software and make our own panels. At the end of the day, we're not going to have the time to build our own convention. There is no Freedom Con on the roadmap. As much as I thought someday we would do that, I don't have time to do that. And so we want to just lean into SolarCon. We want to do everything we can to help support furthering and the leveling up of the solar sales industry, because you mentioned compliance. This is something we've been talking about on this podcast for years, that it's coming, compliance, regulation, and, taking care of the customer. I had the CEO, the founders of Recheck on this podcast a couple months ago. Like, we are huge advocates of this. We've been with SIA for years, and it's like, we're over here like, hello, we've been trying to get this across everybody else's in their heads for years. But I think sales reps, and I was a sales rep too, I know, like, all you can think about is that next sale. That's the only thing you can think about, because you're very like, you make a sale, you make money, you pay the bills, you go make a sale, you make money, you pay the bills. And it's like,
no one wants to go to the office
nobody's
with a
thinking,
bagel.
yeah. Nobody's thinking about next year or 2 years from now, or how long is the solar industry going to be around. If you're a sales rep, you're thinking, how do I pay my bills next month? And so, like, unfortunately, for better or worse, there is just a short-sighted mindset that comes from the sales rep. And we have really, really tried hard. We've built a whole training platform and to try and get sales reps to understand this is an opportunity that will exist for decades and will take care of your family for the rest of your life if you do it right. But if you're just here to make as much money as you can this week and can't think about tomorrow, and you're going to go and gouge that customer and overcharge them, then you are going to be the downfall of this industry, and you're going to cause the very thing that we're all trying to avoid. And so it is this, for us, an opportunity to help sales reps look at solar with a longer term lens and to see this as the opportunity that it really is. So anyway, for all those reasons, Freedom is going to get very, very involved and try to support what you're doing, because it's amazing.
Yeah, I know I'm hitting on this a little bit, and you are too. Listeners, we have the mic, so just stick with us here. But sales compliance, as a door-to-door sales rep, I average over 200 installs a year doing self-gen. And as a door-to-door sales rep, I can tell you the future for you, and it was for me, is sales compliance. It's just a nasty word as a sales rep. You don't want to hear that. It sounds regulatory to some degree. But I want you to shift your thinking a little bit, because it's actually how you get referral-based business.
Yep.
When you sell at a lower price point and you're not trying to gouge them for the highest dollar, when you clarify exactly what's in the contract, they don't feel like they're making a rash decision or they've been misled. And maybe the people that you're closing inside of the home can handle that. Let's say it's a guy my age or Chad's age, and they have the house. They can handle that type of pressure because they're not, they're cool. We want to be cool still.
Right.
We understand what you're doing, and they probably do too. But they're not going to refer you to their mom, because they don't want their mom to be subject to that kind of pressure, or having to, comb through the weeds to figure out what the true answer was around your blanketed statement. Sales compliance is literally going to get you referral-based business, and I can attest to that personally. It's one of the most beautiful things you can do.
How can you go out and sell something not take care of the customer, not put their needs in? You don't make money on the sale. You make money on the install. And the install doesn't happen the next day. It can take weeks, if not months. And so if you don't explain everything properly to the customer, and if you take advantage of them and you don't price it right, there's a much lower chance that job is going to actually get installed. And so, like, what are you actually doing? You're just wasting everybody's time, right? and you're putting your company, your installer, through a lot of pain because they're going to go through and pull the permits and they're going to do all this work on a job that's never going to get installed because you wanted to sell it at a higher price point because you weren't willing to think long term and realize, hey, if I give them a fair price, they're probably going to refer me to their neighbor or their relatives. They're a higher chance of getting it installed, which means I'm actually going to get like a good paycheck in 3 to 10 weeks from now. Like it is this, and I've done sales, I've sold other things. And I used to sell alarms, and it was like you install it that day, and that's kind of that mentality that I think
Same day.
It's not the same thing in solar. There are no same days in solar. I know people have like tried. It's not a thing, and so you have to think more long term, and you really have to be on top of your customer. You have to like keep a relationship with them beyond the time you sign and walk out of the house. So it's this thing that like, I'm glad people are finally talking about it. We have been hammering on this literally for years because what good is a sale if a job doesn't get installed?
That's right.
That if you were to talk to an installation company, they, especially like companies that give the red lines. Here's a red line. Well, the rep makes everything above that number. Well, the installation company would prefer you sell it right at the red line. They make the same amount of money if you sold it right at the red line, and they have a much higher chance of getting the job installed. Yeah. They're not wasting money. Half of the reason why red lines are as high as they are is because they have to bake in the cost of every customer that they sell that does not get installed. They have to amortize that cost over the rest of their customer base. The ones who do get installed are penalized. It's like this crazy structure that a lot of companies have. And anyway, I know I'm rambling on this, but it's finally something that people are looking at. And then at the same time, it's not just customers, compliance for the customer. What about the investor who is buying this solar, who's investing money into this solar project? If that customer isn't taken care of, they're not going to pay their bill. If they're not paying their bill, what is the finance company going to say? How excited are they going to be about that customer? And not just the finance company, the person who gave the finance company the money. They call them takeout partners, right? These partners that are investing in, the investors, investing in these solar projects. I was with Paul Steffen from Good a couple months ago, and he said, if you can take care of the customer and the investor, there's plenty of money in between for the rest of us to create a career.
Paul says some pretty great things.
He's a wise man.
One of my favorite things he said was, and I'm going to butcher it, but the concept was, he has someone on his board or someone in his room anytime decisions are being made, and their sole job is to punch holes into the idea so that they can think of every possible negative blowback, repercussion, something that might happen. He wants the holes. He wants someone to poke through. He doesn't want everyone agreeing. And I thought that was pretty powerful.
So with SolarCon, what are some of the holes that you have had to fill in over the last couple of years?
Some of the, like, what do you mean? Like some of the problems that we came up with, or some of the ideas we came up with, and we're like, no, this could happen.
You're trying to get all of these solar companies, installers and sales companies, to either buy and have these exhibits or get people to show up. You got to get you can't just run like a small little baby convention. You either like do it big or you can't do it. It doesn't work. So like it's a big endeavor. That's a massive undertaking.
What am I going to do? Hold like a little 30 people? Welcome to the show. Like, I want to go big. I want it to be huge. And we did run into major problems. It's just, I grew up in the door-to-door world. And I tell people this all of the time. If you think that you're out there doing door-to-door and you're just getting the commission you're getting, that is completely false. The skill set that you are learning can be applied to so many things. And I promise you, I would not have anything that I have right now, including the impact or the network that I have without door-to-door sales. That taught me, I think what you learn in door-to-door sales is some of the most staple practices you could possibly learn being a business owner. Like you have to learn to generate revenue. You have to learn what customer appreciation is. You have to learn how to manage your money. You have to learn how to handle rejection. You have to learn what to do when the times are really tough and when the times are really high. Like there are so many things that you learn doing door-to-door sales, and all of it is applied to SolarCon.
Yeah,
I know I didn't answer your question, but I just wanted to put that out there. You guys are doing far more for yourselves than you could imagine.
I agree.
Okay.
I want my I want my kids to knock doors.
Yeah, it's a great lesson.
They're it builds character, especially in today's world. Like, you know, my parents said when I was growing up that I was soft, and now I'm saying that about the next generation, right? It's like, oh, these kids are need to learn how to work. But the truth is, like, you know, maybe it's not the same. Work is not the same as my parents defined it, or their parents, or their parents. It evolves, but I think it's an incredible way to learn how to work, face rejection, overcome challenges. I think we've all had that day where we sitting on a curb and we're crying, and it's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And then, you know, you push through it, and then you go and make that next sale, and then you just build on that momentum. And, you know, it's an incredible thing. That's the thing is, like, what we have is so amazing. Yes. Is there turmoil right now? Are there ups and downs right now? Absolutely. Are there
Even
large
for the
companies?
For the sales reps, there are? Not so much.
I think, I mean, it trickles, it hits them last, right? They feel it the latest, but I feel like most sales reps are feeling more adversity now than they were 2 years ago.
From homeowners? Because, I mean, if they're at a company, and I'm sorry to push back on you here, maybe this is what this is.
Go ahead.
If they're at a company like Freedom, who kind of absorbs all of those blows, like you got a big shield up because you guys have the finances to be able to cover, right? If a financier doesn't pay, if a X, Y, or Z happens, aren't the sales reps kind of protected to some capacity?
In theory, they're insulated, but how far do you take that? Plus, we have to make decisions that we're trying to steer their behavior a certain way. And so we try and get ahead of these challenges so that they don't feel them after the fact or feel them late. So, for example, we see that there's going to be this domestic content, a change to domestic content, and it's not as lucrative or not as good as we thought it was going to be, or it's not going to pay out as soon as we thought it was going to be, right? There's just all these variables. So we have to make a change, and we say, hey, you know, our baselines, because, you know, they're tied to domestic content in a way, we make an adjustment ahead of time. That hurts sales reps' commission, right? And so we're constantly tweaking, like either it's baselines or an adder or, you know, or the finance companies themselves are changing their EPCs regularly to adapt to this ever-changing environment.
I used to get mad at that at my installers. They're like, wait a minute, you're raising the price on me. And they're like, the cost is the cost. I don't know what to do about it. And I was like, I don't care.
I know. It's like, well, what are you going to do? Do you want your installer to operate at a loss?
Because I actually have called previous installers that I've worked with, not recently. This is back when a few years after I started Helio Gold, and I apologized to them. I didn't understand. Yeah. I didn't understand the way that I understand things now. I apologize to them for being a bit tyrannical. And I mean, it's the best way to put it. And leveraging this volume that I had against the installer if they didn't adjust my price. And the installer is looking at me like, dude, like, it's not us. It's not us doing it. The rates went up. Like, we have tariffs or we have, you know, like, it has nothing to do with the installer.
So there's so many naive and inexperienced owners of sales companies out there who have no idea what it takes to run the installation side or the ops side.
I was
right?
one of them, yeah.
Yeah, and they just think like, oh, well, if you're not going to do this for me, I'm going to take all my volume somewhere else. It's like, okay, well, you're going to bankrupt that company, and you're good luck getting the rest of your money out of your own existing pipeline that they have, right? And it just they're creating these problems by not really understanding how this works. It's like there's not an unlimited well of money for the installer to just go back to. And even Freedom is not immune to some of these changes beyond a certain point, right? And so we have to constantly adapt to this environment. We have to have a sales force who is adaptable, and we just try to be as transparent and communicative as possible and be proactive. Like, guys, we think this is going to happen. If it does, we're going to have to do this.
Yeah.
Right. And sales reps are pretty resilient if you tell them what's going to happen. It's when they get surprised is when I think they do not do well with surprise. But if you give them a heads up and you tell them this is about to happen, generally, and that's just most people, but I think sales reps are more
door-to-door sales reps are more resilient than I have seen.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I'm 42 years old now. So I've been around, I've seen people, and I've seen a lot of industries. I've had a lot of friends that worked in different industries. And I will say, door-to-door sales reps are some of the most resilient people out there that I've ever met in my life. And creative. Just action-oriented, no excuses. Go out and get them. Doesn't matter what happens on the outside. It's what you control. And man, they have been amazing to work with because, you know, it cultivates a mindset of doing amazing things.
I can tell you really do love like this industry and the sales reps in particular. So maybe it sounds like that's kind of been why you keep saying impact, but like you seem to have this passion towards sales reps.
Sales reps are the only ones I've ever cared about.
Yeah.
And it's weird because as I'm going to call it graduate from one level to the next with these different businesses, it has always been about the sales reps. And unfortunately, I learn as I progress up, I learn it has more and more to do with the financiers and sales compliance and because it actually affects the sales. If sales reps understood what was happening right now today in the market, I think that they would be running to the doors and convincing every single homeowner to get solar. I mean, we have in office right now, Donald Trump has just announced a energy crisis, a state of emergency for energy. Did you know this?
I did not.
Yeah, he declared a state of emergency. It's literally all over the news. It's a state of emergency for energy. We have Google, Microsoft, and Facebook just opened up nuclear plants. They signed to open up nuclear plants because AI costs so much money to power that they're signing on for nuclear because we can't get solar done fast enough. Solar, with some of these regulations that are coming because of sales compliance. Solar happens, a big solar farm happens in 2 years, and it takes 15 years to commission a nuclear plant. But we have an energy shortage, and the way that I understand it is back in the day when we were trying to get to the moon with Russia, and we were in that big battle, who's going to get there first, everything went into NASA. The whole country was watching on news, how are we going to get to the moon before Russia, right?
Right.
And that war is going on right now with AI. Which country is going to dominate in AI, and we cannot do it without energy and power. And so the Trump administration has vocally announced themselves as an all-energy administration is what they're calling themselves, all-energy administration. The only one that he hates is wind.
I don't
he's
love
come out
wind
and said
either.
that.
So,
but everything else, he wants it to succeed. And from what I understand, this freeze that occurred from people signing checks or that he announced is only because he wants to understand where all the money is going. He's not going to take it away. He might adjust some things, like you said, domestic content could be adjusting things, but it's all to bring jobs into the U.S. It's all to get homeowners to get more energy and more power because he knows that we're in a state of emergency and he's declared it.
Interesting.
It's pretty amazing.
I knew none of that, and I don't really follow politics. I just
the tax credit, the ITC itself right now, it kind of is in talks of being negotiated and changed.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't sales reps be running to the doors right now to every one of their clients and saying, hey, this might go away. Now, literally right now is the time, and then just show the news. They don't even have to sell anything. Show the news and say you get 30% now and you might not tomorrow. Right?
Right. In California 2 years ago, year and a half ago, it was NEM 2.0.
Yeah.
Right. There's always a reason why you should everyone needs to go solar now.
Yeah, when it went NEM 2 to NEM 3, that was a massive
huge. But there
deadline.
seems to just always be the next thing, and it's always a bigger and bigger reason why everyone needs to go solar. And our whole mission is to accelerate the rate of residential solar adoption. Like, we're just trying to make it happen as fast as humanly possible. Brett would say it's not happening fast enough. Even with our own growth and all the success that Freedom has had, it's like, great, but we're still not on track to completing the mission. There's 110 million homes in the United States. We're at like 4 point something million that have solar, right? Like, it needs to happen faster. And as large as we are, we're not doing millions of homes a year, and we need to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so like, this is kind of the mission, and all of this adversity we're dealing with, it is definitely, it seems like it's a refining process, so to speak. Like, if you can just get through this however long it's going to be, next couple weeks, next couple months, hopefully not next couple years. I don't think it'll be that long, but just this time of uncertainty. And I think that the Inflation Reduction Act has its own, it's contributed to this, right? So like, we don't really know exactly what that's going to look like after April 15th or even in September. We're told that there's going to be some changes around those times, and even those things can change. That is kind of the thing that we're all looking for, it feels like, is just like, can we just get some certainty, right? But back to SolarCon, back to the individual sales rep, like, if I don't feel like we have certainty, if you don't feel like we have certainty around these things, the sales rep, who all they know right now is, I'm going to knock this door and I'm going to try and convince this customer to go solar. Like, we got to figure out a way to help everybody understand more about this industry, because I do think this is going to dominate. To your point, like, if everything you said about this state of emergency with Trump and all that is true, then that means this really is like, this is one of the most important things that we will ever do in our entire lifetime.
Right now. It's happening right now. And, come April 15th, when SolarCon starts, that could shift, right? In fact, domestic content is about to go up from, I believe, 40 to 45% in mid-April. So the change is coming. That part we already know on the domestic content side. But, the time is now. If changes come, they're not here yet. So you literally have the best opportunity now. To Chad's point, he knows changes are coming. We all know they're coming. We don't know what they are, but they are coming. And so go out and sell with what you have got right now, because there will not be a better deal later. There just won't be.
Yeah. No. So what is your last? I mean, we've covered a lot of ground. What is your final message to your listeners? We're a couple weeks away from SolarCon. It is April 15th, 16th,
and 17th.
And 17th.
In Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas, Nevada. Jake's got the hookup on a huge discount on hotels. Mm-hmm. So what is your message to everybody who's listening to them? What's something you haven't covered yet, or that you want them to walk away from after listening to this podcast?
Ooh, I am happy to announce some things here. SolarCon has historically just been its own event, its own pillar. We have SolarCon. But now, this year, we understand that we weren't the best at attracting all the sales audiences, but we do know that Sam Taggart and Danny Pesci are phenomenal with sales reps, right? And so they have their own events that might have happened sometime around SolarCon, not necessarily on the same dates. Danny Pesci's is called the Setter Closer Tour, and Sam Taggart's is called Sales Boot Camp. And both of those events are happening inside of SolarCon's walls.
Wow.
So you can actually literally be in Danny Pesci's Setter Closer Tour event and watching and then you could step out and you can go and listen to Abby Hopper, or Brett Bucci's going to be speaking, right?
Brett Bucci's going to be speaking.
And we have, Michael O'Donnell's going to be there. Sam Taggart's doing his sales boot camp there. We have a women's event that is happening. We have a Latin event that you're speaking at.
Yes.
Right? The Latin event. So it's actually 5 events that are happening in one wall this year in Las Vegas. And I believe for all of your Freedom people, they're all coming to SolarCon as well, right?
We're going to get as many Freedom reps and installers and ops people. I mean, we have an HQ in Vegas. It's massive.
I do. I've been to it.
Yes, you've been to it. So we will show up big time for SolarCon this year.
And you guys actually have a private suite. So you imagine going into any conference area. You see all the booths. You see all the magic. I call it the magic. You see all the magic happening. It's like intoxicating, that atmosphere. And then you're going to see a Freedom booth. But what's going to happen behind that booth is where the Freedom magic happens. There's a booth that says Freedom, and then they'll be able to walk through a doorway that opens up into a big 4,000 square foot private suite for Freedom. So that's pretty fun. I'm excited about that.
That is very, very exciting. Can we like a secret doorway where we can sneak people in?
You have to have a secret passcode.
Okay, good.
That'll be released on social media.
Well, all right. So you've obviously gotten a lot more creative with how to integrate and involve other big names and other businesses within kind of this industry, and you've brought it all together at SolarCon. That is amazing. That is exciting. And you just seem like you're just trying to do all of this. I mean, you told me earlier at lunch that you don't even care if SolarCon makes money this year.
Yeah.
Like what? Obviously,
make
it would
my
be
money
great to
from
not
the-
lose money, and I
Yeah.
know you make your money from other stuff, but what drives you? Like, I know we've kind of hammered on this, but you keep talking about impact. Define impact.
By impact, I mean all of the connections that you make at SolarCon. I mean, when else are you going to be able to rub shoulders with Brett or
Yeah.
Abby? When else are you going to be able to do this? And if they say, you know, that your worth is the 5 closest people to you, I think one of the best things that I've seen at SolarCon are the relationships that come out of it. You will meet new people, even if it's in Freedom itself. You might not know reps from other parts of Freedom, right? And so being able to get to meet each other, you have no idea. You have no idea how that could help your business, your sales practices, the knowledge that you have. You could learn a piece of information from SolarCon and go out and go from selling and installing 50 accounts a year to doing 200. Just by a simple line that someone gives you, or a mindset, or someone you meet. I think SolarCon, the impact that I keep talking about is massive revenue growth for the businesses that have participated. Every single business is there. You mentioned RE Plus. They go to these other events, and I've been to them too. I'm telling you guys, I'm a little bit biased, but it's a bit of a snooze fest. If you were to look at an Excel spreadsheet and somehow formulate that into a 3D model, you would get Inner Solar and RE Plus.
Hey, I'm not going to comment on that. I like those events, but this is more tailored.
Oh, me too.
This is more. This is just more applicable to what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, this is literally the only residential conference specifically.
Yeah.
Inner Solar and RE Plus are industrial and commercial. I mean, you might have some residential stuff sprinkled through, but when they are at these events, they're not necessarily looking to talk to any residential people. They're looking to talk to manufacturers with AVL lists and financiers. Like where the real magic happens for the residential solar industry is the only place I know of is SolarCon. It's the biggest one that there is. It's the only one that there is. And I think that immersing yourself into that type of atmosphere is just putting yourself in a place surrounded by like-minded people doing the thing that you are doing, the very thing that you're doing. You can't go wrong by being in that environment.
Yep. I love it. Well, hey, thank you. Thank you for what you do for the industry. Thank you for, the passion that you have towards the sales reps, and that your desire to help level up the sales reps to make them more compliant, more sophisticated, more educated. Ultimately, if we just made them more professional, I do think that a lot of these other challenges we're dealing with in the solar industry as an industry goes away or gets much smaller. So thank you for what you're doing on your side to make that contribution. And most of all, thank you for joining us today on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on here. And thank you for all of your advice and help on SolarCon. It's been amazing this year.
Absolutely. You got it. Well, his name is Jake Hess. Come to SolarCon. We will see you there. How can they find SolarCon?
You go to attendsolarcon.com.
Attendsolarcon.com.
Or we have an Instagram account. You can go on Facebook, but attendsolarcon.com.
Attendsolarcon.com.
The link
Thank
is
you
below.
for listening. The link is below, and we will see you guys on the next episode.